Good evening and welcome to Astro Mingle with your host, Sensei Christopher.
Hello and welcome to Astro Mingle, the spiritual podcast that mingles with the talented lightworkers and innovative influencers of our time. Today, we're exploring the fascinating world of human design with Erin Claire Jones. Over the past decade, she's guided hundreds of thousands of people to find their flow at work, in love, and in life through her coaching, her courses, and her amazing human design blueprints that have reached people in over 160 countries. Her insights have been featured in places like Vogue, Forbes, and Elle, and she's known for making the system super practical and easy to apply. Please welcome today, Master Step 24 Taurus, Erin Claire Jones. One clap is good. Hi, Erin.
Hi, happy to be here.
Thanks for coming. And yeah, we're both Tauruses. That's cool. We just found out. And can I ask you just personally, like how Taurus has been for the last year? I mean, in generic, how would you rate it?
Being a Taurus the past year, I feel like it's been a crazy year, but it's hard for me to know what's being Taurus and what's, I came out with a book and I have a 1-year-old and 3-year-old. So life has been total chaos. I would say that staying grounded has felt hard, and yet it's felt more important than ever.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, that's it right there. I mean, imagine a Taurus having to ground, as if we weren't grounded enough. It felt like in astrology, and I don't know, human design is, star based in the sense of just a sun sign. But
yeah,
with Pluto in our 10th house of Aquarius, like the age of Aquarius is the Taurus's profession. Like they're here to make it happen, which is interesting. And I found like everyone else, in some ways I was not prepared. In other ways, I thought I knew it all. So yes, I don't have a baby at home, but I have lots of babies in some sense. So, in projects and things. So I completely understand. Well, thanks for coming. We have people here who've been with us forever, watching our show, who know what human design is, but we have a lot of new people joining the show all the time. Can you tell us in your heart, what, if anyone's ever heard of it, what is human design in the simplest, most down-to-earth way you can describe it?
So human design is a mystical system. It's based on your time, date, and place of birth, like astrology. It basically offers you a blueprint to how to find your flow in every part of your life in a very practical way. I think the information human design can offer ranges from how do you make decisions? How do you communicate best? How do you find opportunities? How do you structure your days in a way that actually works for you? So think of human design basically as a way to understand your own unique operating system in a way that can really make your life feel easier and flow so much more once you understand it.
That's a really good describe it. I like how you say how to flow, because I found with astrology, it has no instructions on that. Like the flow part I had to input, from my own life experiences. And that's nice that human design tells you how. And that's what's interesting about it. Like the first thing I found fascinating was just that I was an emotional generator, but it kind of described how I manifest. And that's something I had not also decoded alone with astrology. For anyone who's like opening up their chart for the first time, which looks complex, if you haven't seen it before, what are the key things they should look for first? And why do those things matter?
Yeah, well, I will just say when you look up your chart for the first time, it can be very overwhelming because you see all these shapes and numbers and you're like, this is crazy. And then you might just shut the window. So just know that there's really helpful stuff, even if it doesn't make sense, the diagram itself. And you can look your chart up if you haven't already at humandesignblueprint.com. The pieces that I would say are most useful to begin with are 3 pieces called your type, strategy, and authority. Why these pieces are so useful is that your type is going to reveal your gifts and really how you can use your energy best, whether that's at work or whether that's at home. Your strategy is the piece that I think speaks to what you were saying around how to manifest, which is really around how you can find the best opportunities for yourself, whether it's professional or romantic. And then your authority, which is one of my favorite pieces, is around how you make decisions. So once opportunities come, how do you actually assess whether or not that opportunity is correct? And it's not a mental pro-con list. It's kind of a deeper knowing that human design helps you access. There's so much more beyond that, but just kind of knowing how your energy works, how to find opportunities, and how to choose, those three things alone can, I think, bring you a lot more clarity and ease in your day-to-day.
Indeed. I mean, how to find, I'm curious about the philosophy underneath, the raw lore, in the sense of, do we find our opportunities? Do we manifest them? Do we attract them? I mean, there's all sorts of, verbs being used out there amongst different modalities. Is it a finding? Is it a finding because I have the radar for it?
I would say it's a making ourselves available for. I think, and, just to give, to bring it down to earth and give some examples of how that might actually look. Like, for example, in your design, as a generator, your strategy, your way of manifesting or bringing things to you is called responding, waiting to respond. What that means is that you are not somebody who's meant to sit at home and like try to figure out what's next. You are just meant to do the things that you love, things that satisfy you, and just see what shows up in your orbit that kind of like naturally pulls you toward it, and just kind of follow that gut instinct. So you're just like waiting to see what actually generates a gut response in you and let that be your guide. What I love so much about this one is that I feel like so many generators I know end up doing things that are very unexpected, where they had like a real vision for the career they wanted, the person they wanted, and yet somebody showed up or something showed up that did not check any of those boxes and yet felt so correct in their gut. And like, that's what they're meant to pursue. So for you, you're meant to be incredibly magnetic and not meant to chase after a thing. I'm happy to share some other examples of different strategies, but I'm curious if that feels true to your life experience and if that feels aligned with the way that you are showing up.
Well, yes. I mean, I attract anything I want. I mean, but the thing is, I did want it first, though. That's what confuses me. And so I didn't know, like, is this how it works? What's really happening here? Now, it's true. Something will be come to me that I never expected.
Yeah.
Completely different but that's the fun part, because those things, they still fit in the whole picture for me. It's like, it's not out of the picture. It's just beyond. To me, it's co-creation. It's like, oh, there's a piece that God did, and wow, this is incredible. And God's a genius, and wow, this is, I never expected this, but I'll take it, but I also have a vision too, like at the same time, where I'm like, and I've been on it for 20 years. I haven't steered from it. So, but how it happened, completely like random playing. I feel like I'm winging it.
Yeah. Well, you're kind of meant to. I think a lot of generators feel so relieved hearing that, because they often have like spent a lot of their lives like trying to control and trying to make it happen. And they're like, oh, things have always come to me. Like, what if I just sit back and like trust that? Because you can be so powerful in making the thing happen once it comes, but it's waiting for the right moment. And just to give you an example of something different, my way of finding opportunities in my design is around waiting to be invited. So it's not just waiting for something to spark a gut response. It's basically waiting for somebody to be like, hey, Erin, I see you. Like, I see what you bring to the table. I see what your gifts are. Like, come share them here. So when I think back to all the biggest opportunities in my life, including my discovery of human design, it's been through a very specific directed invitation. So it doesn't mean that I can't do other things, but like, I know to look out for those, because that often is my indicator. Like, that's a really compelling path for me.
So do you think that you attract invitations though? I mean, to some degree,
Yeah, well, I think something that I really had to learn is that, nobody's meant to be passive in human design. So nobody has a strategy that's just about sitting on the couch. Like, I think that for me, when I have tried to create opportunities for myself and pitch and make things happen, which I've tried plenty of times in my life, like, it often just doesn't land. And so I basically have made it my job to make myself visible and trust that the right invitations will come. And an example of that would be just in how I discovered human design is I was living in New York City. I went to a friend's house on the Lower East Side and basically sat next to a stranger who read my human design chart, and then told me that I was meant to do human design and share human design and study it. And he invited me to study with him and build a business with him. And, I was 25 years old. Like, I human design was totally fringe, but like something about it felt right. So I can just think back to so many moments in my life where it was that invitation. Like, even the book that I published, like, every moment of that came about through an invitation. So I think my job is just to let the world know that I exist and share authentically and share broadly and trust the right people will kind of resonate with me, rather than trying to be seen by people that are not actually inviting me in, if that makes sense.
That makes sense, but I'm different. I'm on that person by the bus, and I'm realizing it for the first time, and I'm going, I'm not waiting for an invitation. I'm inviting myself, to just go ahead and do it on my own behalf. Quite often that person is the one who goes, oh, well, I know someone who knows someone. So it's like, they're not discarded after the idea, but a lot of times it's just as random as you, but I just invite myself.
Yeah.
I guess the difference there.
It's different. Yeah.
Yeah, it is different. Fascinating. So, a lot of people say that human design is a personality test, or it's all astrology. How is it actually different from all these things? I mean, it's a very unique footprint. I mean, the reading from human design is very unique out of all that I've ever had. And it still doesn't stick completely with me after like 5.
So I would say that how it's different is, a couple different ways. I would say, like, if you compare it to like Myers-Briggs or Enneagram or StrengthsFinder, like, or, those are all kind of questionnaire-based systems where you are answering questions or kind of self-assessing. Human design, similar to astrology, is very different than that. You input your date, time, and place of birth, and like, that is your design. You're not choosing it. Like, which also means for me, when I discovered my human design, I probably would not have guessed I was the design that I was because I was trying so hard to be something else. And then human design kind of brought me back. So I actually love the simplicity of date, time, and place of birth because I think we're often conditioned to be things that we're not. In terms of how it differs from astrology, like, you probably have a lot of good insight here. I think astrology does feed into human design. It pulls from a lot of different systems, astrology being one of them, the I Ching being another, the chakra system, Kabbalah. But like, I would say that human design to me feels very mechanical. It's really around like, this is how you understand your own operating system and how you can navigate your day to day in a way that's most authentic to you, whether it's as a mother, entrepreneur, friend, or, CEO. So it basically is like, it's just getting to know yourself. And I think so often we spend a lot of our lives emulating others and being like, oh, they built a business this way, they're running a podcast this way, like that will work for me. And I think human design basically helps us know like, what is the way that will work uniquely for you. So it's very mechanical.
The engineering, it really feels that way. How things run. This is how you run.
Exactly.
You put gasoline in that, you go ahead, but that's not how you run.
Exactly.
Can you give us an example in your life or doing readings of how someone's design totally shifted the way they looked at work or love or a big life decision, something that impressed you, even you maybe, by the impact?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many, but I would say there's a story that I tell in my book, which I love this one because it's an example of how understanding the designs of people we love can make a big difference. Because I think understanding ourselves is so profound, but understanding our partners and our kids and our colleagues makes such a big difference. So I sat with a couple who was trying to decide whether or not to move to New York City. And one of them had a very immediate knowing. She's like, I know we're meant to be in New York City. Like it was so clear. And she just was like ready to go. Her husband was waffling. So when she came to me, she was like, this is so annoying. Like he changes his mind every day. Like, I don't know how to make this big decision together. And it was so funny looking at his design because while she was somebody that was wired to make decisions fast and in the moment, he was meant to give himself a full month before he chose. And so what she perceived as waffling was just his very natural process of eventually reaching clarity. And so he was meant to waffle daily until like the answer really landed for him. And so it was so interesting because like there was so much conflict in their relationship. And then once they understood how differently they were wired, they were able to navigate this big decision in a way that respected their differences. And after a month, he too decided they should move to New York City. But he just needed a very different process to reach that. And so, I love that one because one, they obviously were able to make a big decision on the same page, but then they were also equipped with a tool of like, oh, like I have been so mad at you for being different. And now I know how different you are. And now I know how to uniquely support you in that.
Wow, I can actually back that up with my own. When I found out I was an emotional generator and I found out that I'm supposed to wait a night, at least one night before I answer, holy crap, that got me out of trouble. Because I'm such a pleaser, I'd always answer on their behalf, like without thinking. But then after it sat with me for a while emotionally, I'd start to get upset because I had sold myself under the bus once again and done something I didn't really feel like doing. And so I had this bad reputation of changing my mind or getting in situations I didn't want to be in.
Yes.
As I knew that and understood that about myself, now it's like, it's one standard answer. It's like, I'll get back to you. It's always, I'll get back to you. I just don't know. I have to be away from you to process it because I incorporate you too much if you're in front of me kind of thing. So that saved my life too, actually. That's brilliant. If someone's curious, I mean, human design, I'm a professional reader and still I look at human design and I'm like, oh Christ, I got stuff to learn. It just feels a little overwhelming, not in a bad way. I respect and know how overwhelming astrology is, so I get it. What's the easiest way for someone who needs this now to use design in their daily life without making it a huge investment of time?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think something I've really learned in my journey is that most people who come to me don't actually want to learn how to read the human design chart. They want to understand what it actually means for them. And so, I know you shared in the intro around the people that I worked with and how there's been so many countries that I've worked with from those countries. And that's because we sell this thing called a blueprint guide, a custom guide to your human design, which basically walks you through all the elements of your chart in a very everyday kind of way. So it's not about like, you are this and it comes from this part of your chart. It's like, this is how you're meant to make decisions and this is how you best collaborate. And so if you're curious to dive deeper, like those custom guides are one, really affordable. And it just basically is like a manual to you. Like I have so many clients that just like have it printed on their bedside table and always return to it. And then I also wrote a book that is like so not in complex language. It's basically how you can use it in your career and your relationship. So I think a lot of my offerings are very much geared towards those who actually just want to use it to live their best life and not who want to understand the system. I have a great offering for that, but like that's just not most people.
No, you're right. I mean, we're doing very similar work. Because I've tried to do the same thing for astrology, boil it down to steps. These steps go in this order. Like, helping you understand in a practical way. What's the title of your book?
It's called How Do You Choose? A Human Design Guide to What's Best for You at Work and Love and in Life.
How do you choose? There you have your what is it called?
Mhm.
Little mark there above your shoulder.
QR code, yeah.
Thank you. QR code gone blank. Great. And I'm looking forward to it. I like to read that. So it helps with relationships and also with career at the same time, because those are pretty much two basic questions you get in a reading. That must be purpose. Yeah.
That's right. So it's, it's interesting. And like, I don't know, what your journey has been, whether you've written a book, I'm curious, but I think like with the human design world, like so many of the books that are out there are textbooks. It's for people like me who are like, tell me everything that you know about the system. And I think that
Right.
I really wanted to do something different, where like, I really wanted to write a book that was very much like a decision-making guide, where you're like, I'm feeling stuck in my career. I don't know what to do. So I'm going to pick up this book, open to the chapter on projector, open to the chapter and wait for an invitation. And like, it's going to give me guidance on what to do next. So it is very different in that kind of way, where it's really not meant to teach you the system at all. It's really just meant to offer you personalized guidance based on your design. And it's really kind of through story and through actual clients and stories like that.
Really? I mean, I am writing a book and I'm taking a similar approach. In fact, I don't want
Cool.
to tell you it's about astrology until the 4th chapter,
That's what
because
I'm
I'm
talking
too
about.
afraid of the prejudice
Yeah.
of it. It's like people they close down immediately. Like, wait, there's a strong, formula there. And I agree. We have no handbook to being human. We have no handbook, and societies, I was joking the other day, but it's like psychology in the school of psychology, with all due respect to anyone who studied it, really does not yet have a map. Like, well, how's it work? I was in college when I was taking psych classes in college when I discovered astrology, and I was like, but none of the psych classes tell you how we really work. I mean, Sigmund Freud's 3 different, personalities. Okay. But that's it. So yeah, I think it's widely needed. And I think, honestly, human design and astrology, they're beautiful complements. I think numerology, many of them are beautiful complements. It's the way you explain it and lay it out for them. I think this is the most important. It sounds like you have that down. That's really cool. So that said, like, how can human design support relationships? That you say that. You gave us one example of, okay, don't get pissed at them. It takes 30 days. Eventually you figure that out too. But with relationships and romance and family, how do you use it, for instance? I'm sure your children's human design. Are you raising your children differently, do you think? Or one child? I'm sorry, I don't know. But
No, it is interesting, because I would say that, so there, just for context, there are 5 different types in human design: generators, manifesting generators, projectors, reflectors, and manifestors. In my little family, we have 4 of the 5 types represented. So I am married to a generator, I'm a projector, I have a manifestor daughter and a manifesting generator daughter. And so we're all really different. So I would just say, like, with my husband and me, like, it's been just so profound, because our designs are basically different in every possible way. And I can just see how challenging things would be if I tried to have the same stamina as him. If I just so many parts where I would like try to be like him, make decisions as fast, whatever it is. And I think our design has given me so much empathy, both for him and for myself, of like being different. And I think ultimately us being different is why we actually work so well together.
Right.
I think in terms of my daughters, like I'm definitely not dogmatic around it, where I'm like, okay, how can I raise her as a manifesting generator and her as a manifester? But I will say, so I'm just at this moment they're 1 and 3, so they're very young, is like, I'm just kind of sitting back and watching and like seeing how it manifests. So I think that like I will bring in different ways of supporting them as we go. But like, it is funny watching my manifesting generator daughter, because manifesting generator kids and humans are super multi-passionate, very charismatic, kind of like they light up the room around them. And like, I definitely see that in her. Like, one, her energy is insane, which I think is very normal for toddlers, but she's so charismatic, and she's been like that from day one. And then, manifestors are a very different type. This is my 1-year-old. Like, they're very intense. They like things on their terms, like their way. They like to be the one to kind of like initiate things and not wait for things to come to them. And like, I see all those things in her so clearly. So I would say at this moment in time, it's more of like an observational thing, which I'm really enjoying. But I would say, just kind of higher level to your question, I think we often get really frustrated and disconnected in relationships because we want people to be similar to us or different than what they are. And I think human design gives us a very specific language to understand how different people are. So I sit with so many couples and partnership sessions where they're coming to me feeling so disconnected, and we just realize there's a very fundamental difference they haven't become aware of. Like, another example that comes to mind is a couple that sat with me, and And she was feeling so frustrated because when something came up, her instinct was to want to like talk through it and make sense of it together. Like she wanted to be in it. And like his instinct was like to go away and be alone. And when you look at their design, this is a deeper part of their design. Like he was a very independent processor and she was a very collaborative processor. And so like they just have very different needs that were really at conflict in certain moments. And so just understanding how to get their respective needs met and like not try to be the same made such a big difference. So I think I would say what human design does with couples and honestly in any kind of partnership is it just gives us a language for how different we are so we can honor that more easily. I think so often we actually already know the differences, but having them called out by a stranger is like, oh, that's why this has been so hard. So I just think it's such an incredible tool to better understand the people closest to us. And even looking back at the family I grew up in, like I have so much more empathy for my dad and my mom and my sister because I'm like, oh my God, that's why.
Yeah. That saved me from killing my parents. Just kidding. But yeah, ultimately it was the astrology. And I hear you. In the case of like with you and your husband, for instance, so do you, in human design, would you say every you needs a his design? Like, do those designs go together? Do they fit well? Because oftentimes I notice in relationships, in astrology, it's like he's doing what she don't want to do. She's doing what he don't want to do, like, and I find that again, astrology has the same model in the sense that women don't have to surrender to the male or vice versa. So as it's flip-flops, it doesn't really matter about gender, but one will be in charge and the other will just follow. And it's like, no, you have a purpose here. This purpose is this design or this sign, or there's purpose here that you are valuable, maybe not seen for what you bring to the table and how it all works and how this wouldn't work if that wasn't happening, kind of thing. You find like an interlocking gear kind of situation?
Yeah, I would say that, I've seen it work all kinds of ways. Like I've seen similar types be really great together, as long as they're like really learning how to honor their type. Like for me as a projector in human design, which basically like high level is not really here to be much of a doer, is like more kind of meant to be a seer and a guide and offer all this perspective. Like I find so many of my dearest friends are projectors because we're just like, oh my God, let's talk about all the things that we see. I do think in relationships, I have done better with different types romantically. Like I think that we often are very
interesting.
and that's me. Like I've seen similar types be very
Romance
successful.
and partnership a little different
Yeah,
too.
like
Like
I think
sparks don't necessarily mean work well,
yeah,
which is why a
totally.
lot of those don't work end up working out. So
Yeah, like
yeah.
I think I've been very attracted to difference, and I think that like so
Mm,
I would say that that works so well in relationship again as long as you're not trying to be the same.
right.
Like, it's just like and there are so many examples. Like, for example, my husband and I, as different types, like one thing I really need as a projector in human design is words of affirmation. I need somebody to be like, Erin, you're doing amazing. I love the way you're doing this. Like that is, yeah, I just like that is we love words of affirmation as projectors. So like I like feel like he wants that, but he does not care about that. Like that
Mhm.
is just like the least, I'm actually curious for you because he's a generator like you.
Mhm.
He and a lot of generators I work with tend to love kind of acts of service. They basically tend to love things that just like give them more space to do the things they enjoy. They're like
Mhm.
just like kind of take things off my plate that I don't enjoy, that I'm not excited
Yeah.
about, free up my space to do things I love. And like that is how you can really show up for me. So it's
Yes.
been really helpful in very simple terms, like, oh, like what I need is not what you need. And how can I show up for you in a way that just gives you more space to kind of do the things you enjoy?
Totally. I mean, I think for us, I can't speak for all of us, but I'll speak for myself. Yeah, it's like giving me praise. I know I did. I just busted my ass. I know.
Yeah.
Like you're telling me something I don't know. Like I guess to be a generator, you have to be able to to give that authoritative, like I did it. We have to
Mm-hmm.
own that we did it or something. But you
Mm-hmm.
make my job easier. Oh, I love you. Like
Mm-hmm.
you make it easier, or you think of me, or think for me in a way that no one else sees, or
Mm-hmm.
helps support me in a way that no one else notices I'm struggling. Like that is like crazy good. Like because
Mm-hmm.
like wow, they really understand what I'm having to deal with here. And I do
Mm-hmm.
see like lots of twinkie kind of twin, couples where it's like it's a mirror relationship and they're together because they're comparing notes and they're seeing how someone
Yeah.
else does it too. You see different sort of strategies there. And I'm interested also in the workplace too. Have you carried
Mm.
this out in the workplace much yet? I'm sure you will at one point, but just like how people
Yeah.
at work get along and how, especially creative work, right? Creative
Mm.
industries where everyone has an opinion and it comes down to taste or whatever. It's like
Mhm.
everyone has a role there too. Have you
Yeah.
designed it in the workplace or looked at design in the workplace?
I have. It's actually where I started. When I first
Oh,
started
wow.
my first human design business, it was actually only focused on human design for teams, and then I kind of expanded it. I think
Oh, cool.
I have always had like a special place in my heart for bringing this into the workplace because I think,
Me too.
yeah, like I think as you said, I think that like we often spend a lot of time with the people that we work with. And so if we
Mhm.
don't understand them, then like things can be really hard. But if we're able to really understand the role that each person plays, how to communicate with them, what they need, how to get the best out of them. Like you're just able to create so much more and so much more harmoniously and so much more effectively. So yeah, I love working with teams. And like, again, it's very mechanical. Like I will sit with teams and I'm like, this person does well with specific yes, no questions. This person might want open-ended questions. This person might really like a lot of meetings. This person wants very few, so like there's just such specific stuff. And so, and I also would say in teams, because I tend to encounter more skeptics in teams, which I personally love, like I think that human design just offers a jumping off point to have a conversation around what they need. And I think so often we don't take that space where I'm like, oh, I need something very different than you. And I think it's really incredibly helpful for managers and CEOs or whatever to just be like, oh, like these people all need very different things, And so I think that that's, I've just found it incredibly useful in teams.
I do too. I think it's a huge future for us, because it's something that human design or human resources doesn't look at. I mean, look at humans as a resource. You fill it, you use it up, you throw it away. There's not really, the psychology there is not getting along. And to me, like if you don't work together as a team, like truly where you're complementing each other, that energy can either turn into more energy than you had before, which would be a synergy, like where you just now you like go spiritual nuclear and everyone's just like, wow, living off the fumes. Or just the opposite, everything shuts down, because people are having bitch face and jerk face and like, and no one is communicating. I once had an opportunity. I had a dentist who offered to give me a discount if I read the whole office, but it was like a small little office in the South, which was huge, like a Christian office in the South. Like I was blown away, but through the whole process is like, here's what she's afraid of. Here's what he's afraid of. They all sat there kind of red faced, but then like, it was a weird, kind of moment where they suddenly just understood each other. And it was amazing to see that moment because they had not seeing that parts of themselves being more conservative and also medical industry, so many different things. So then I saw, oh my God, this is where our future is for sure. Because we waste a lot of energy on what he or she said, or what are they thinking, that kind of thing. Yeah. Fascinating.
Yeah. How do you navigate skeptics in moments like that?
How do I what? Say again?
Navigate skeptics in moments like that.
How do I personally, or how does one, as you say?
How do you?
How do I navigate in my
work? Skeptics? Like if you're sitting with a team and there are people that are obviously like, I don't know, this is a little bit weird. Like, how do you approach that?
Well, first of all, I say, only just hear me out. You know what I mean? Like in a sense, give me some space to just like present what I have to present. I don't know how exactly the planets play into it, but I know this is true. Human beings are this way and we fall into these cycles, and these cycles seem to be coordinated with the planets. But we fall into them, and it's undeniable once you start to hear them. But it's like a couple of minutes into talking about them, and they're hooked. It's like everyone is so compelled to know more about them.
Totally.
I mean, the human race, it doesn't know who they are. We just don't. We haven't had the time. We've been hunting, gathering, whatever. But like when we start to hear about you, your heart just can't help but melt because, especially if it's accurate. So I think that helps. You have to be accurate and hit it on the mark and know what really strikes their heart and what doesn't. But it's hard. I was at a Thanksgiving not too long ago. I was like, I'm an astrologer. He's like, oh, you get to write that shit, do you? I was like, I bought a house, like, it's like, but it was just I had not been around skeptics for a long time because I just, was surrounded by people who believe. So it was a shock still. I don't know how to handle it in the big picture, but I feel like the younger generation is very interested. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yes.
Like at the end, I see a big market as Taurus. I see a big market coming regardless, who will want better and better quality readings and better understanding. And they love it. The millennials love it. And, and Z is liking it too. I'm amazed that people even know their sign and rising sign now. They do.
Yeah.
Like they never did when I was that age. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So do you find that there are types of configurations that struggle more in like traditional work patterns? I mean, since we're on the work topic,
yeah, like I would say that I would say honestly, generally in a team place context, having like a team of mostly one type can be hard. Like for example, manifesting generators, like I said, are very multi-passionate. So I've worked with teams of all manifesting generators, and like there's so much excitement and so much enthusiasm, but they're all moving in different directions, and so like they kind of need some other grounding energy. Or a team of all projectors that aren't meant to be doers, like might have a lot of amazing ideas, but like need the juice to get it going. So I would say having like too much similarity and not much diversity can be harder in teams. And then I would say less about the configuration, but I think human design is really helpful for us to know like what kind of teams that will thrive in. Like if I use manifestors as an example, which is another type, like manifestors tend to need a lot of freedom and autonomy. So these are people that don't really do well in small teams or in big teams if they're kind of expected to just like follow what everyone else is doing. Like these most manifestors I work with are much happier as entrepreneurs, or if they work for a big corporation or a big company, they just have like a total freedom over a certain domain. So I think that like, you know, I really have a firm belief that human design is not meant to tell us like what we cannot do. Like it's not like you're a projector and therefore can't do this job, or you're a generator and therefore can't marry a reflector. And more lets us know like once you've chosen the job, once you've chosen the person, like how can you use human design to like navigate that in the best, most authentic way? Like every type can be a CEO, every type can partner with any other type, but I think human design helps us know how to navigate those differences much more gracefully.
Do manifestors like end up finding a generator to do it for them, or do generators find a manifestor to execute the project? I haven't quite gotten that part down.
You know, it varies so much. Like I would say that, so, you know, for context, manifestors are initiators. These are people that are here to kickstart ideas, bring new ideas to life. Their gift is not really in the sustaining and building. So they do partner well with generators, because generators often, like for you, you've been in a similar career for a long time. Like generators have this incredibly enduring passion to like make things happen. You know, I'm married to a generator. Like I said, I'm like, this is like so insane to watch how much stamina you have. You know, the story I tell in my book of a generator is LeBron James, because it's just like, again, an incredible example of a generator. So I would say that manifestors really benefit from generators, but also like I've seen a lot of manifestors build careers where they can just be in a position of innovation, you know, where they can like come in and innovate and disrupt the way things are done, and then step out and then enter another company or another opportunity. So I think there are lots of ways to do it. But I do think, you know, once we're able to expand our teams or grow beyond, I think it's really helpful to know like what specific support might you need, and manifestors will need support to sustain everything they've built.
Yeah, ultimately, I mean, to me, manifestors are always like, and that's my vision, go do it. And it's like, no, you go do it. You know, it's like kind of thing.
Right.
They feel comes off a little bossy, but maybe just the ones I attract, you know, like,
Yeah,
maybe not, but they get things. I think of Steve Jobs. Was he a manifestor? Like
Steve Jobs is a generator.
Really? Okay, that's interesting. That makes sense. Seems like he had seemed like he had sort of an attitude of telling everyone to go do it, and he went away and ate fruit or something. But he actually was generating, huh?
I think some of my favorite manifestor examples that I included in the book are Maya Angelou, which like I think another is a great example, because like it is this very like disruptive, inspiring, initiating kind of presence. Gloria Steinem, also like an amazing, and Adele is another great example. Like Adele kind of like creates and then, you know, returns and then creates, and like manifestors are so impactful. And so like I think that, you know, Tom Cruise is a manifestor too, but I think that it is fun to see. Like I don't think manifestors are really meant to just be like, I'm the boss, go do what I say. Like that's not really how they work. Like they're actually meant to like bring ideas to life, and they often have so much energy to do that. But once the thing is, you know, working, that's often the right time for them to like surround themselves with people that can like continue to make that thing happen, and then kind of free up their energy for the next thing to innovate and disrupt.
It does seem like they kind of move on.
Yes, they
to
do.
the next project. That's very interesting. Yeah. Wow. Interesting. And your birthday's probably close to Adele's, is it not? I think she's up there in the 20s, Sep 20s. Yeah. She's up. She's a massive Taurus, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
You're 24 or 25. I think she's 24 Taurus. You're still 24.
Really?
I think so.
Wow.
Maybe a day apart. I could be wrong. I'll look it up on the break. Yeah, look it up. And just because that's an artist too. 24 is an artist. 24th degree. Well, let's talk about before this time. Like before you became known for human design, what was the moment in your life? I mean, what were you doing? And then what was the moment in your life that made you suddenly go, I'm just going to think about humans and their design?
Yeah. This was definitely not the path that I planned. I discovered human design in 2015. And at that moment in my life, I was kind of firmly in the world of entrepreneurship. I had done my thesis in college on impact-driven entrepreneurship. I was so curious around like how teams worked and how people thought about working together and integrating social impact into their business. I went to work for a startup in New York City. And then by the time I discovered human design, I was consulting for a bunch of different startups just around kind of like community and biz dev and all kinds of things. And I would say that I was enjoying what I was doing, but I was not like, I found my thing. I think on the side of that, I was exploring all kinds of mystical modalities, because that was just like a part of who I was always. And then when I discovered human design, it was just like a very, I would say, confronting experience, because I was in this very entrepreneurial community in New York City that kind of prided themselves on their ability to hustle and work hard. And I sat with this stranger who was like, you're not really meant to be a doer. Like, you're much better suited to be a leader and a guide and a teacher. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you're meant to be invited in. And I was like, all I'm doing is chasing. Like, it was just a very confronting experience. And then he was like, I think you should study this system. And I think that like, I don't think if he had not invited me in to study that system, I don't think I would have done it. Like, I don't think I would
Hmm.
have even thought about that as a possibility, but I was just really curious because I've always been curious about people, that I think it just made sense for me to like understand it more. And I think the more I dove into human design with him, the more I realized that it was like such an incredible tool, not only to understand ourselves, but to work better. And like, I came from so many dysfunctional teams. I'm like, God, if teams had this would like transform the way they work together. So I would say the turning point for me was seeing how it could impact teams, and
Hmm.
just kind of saying yes to that. And so building with him. And so, I don't think I anticipated that it would become what it was and I would be so focused on individuals, but like just kind of understanding who we worked with and how to work together more effectively was a really compelling thing for me. I just saw how impactful that could be.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, this is everything right here.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I had a woman break up with me because she realized right away in the chart that we were going to work out together. But I was in film school and I was just like, oh my God, this would be a great way to develop character for films. So I don't think
Mm,
I would have even looked at it either had it not crossed my path. But once I saw it, it was like, this is priceless. I mean, Taurus knows a bargain, right? It's like, this is a bargain. You've got the entire human race right here in the palm of your hands. And no one
mm,
seems to understand the human race. It's fascinating.
mm-hmm.
Um, so
Yeah.
with all the people and the companies you've worked with, et cetera, have you know, what have you learned about how people implement? Like, in other words, there's knowing your design. It seems like a lot of people study, but a lot of people don't practice. And how
Mm-hmm.
do you get over that hump if you are a person who is interested?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that like, it's interesting because I would say it's a great experience to sit and feel seen, and have somebody reflect back all these things and be like, oh my God, I feel seen. And that's
Mhm.
great. Good information is very useful. But I just think that like if we don't do anything with it, it doesn't really make but much of a difference in our lives. And so like I would say that I would say that I always, when I sit with people, I just always try to kind of remind people of how to actually take action on it. And I would say probably the most actionable piece is around decision making. Like, for example, if I'm sitting with somebody in a session who's a gut driven decision maker, like the conversation will be very much around like what their gut is telling them about certain aspects of their life and how they might trust that more. So I would
Mhm.
say that like I really try to like orient people towards how they're meant to make decisions so they can make decisions that are just more aligned, because I think when we make the right decisions for us, like it just gets us on the right path. So I think that I just like always try to focus on that. And I think one thing I've learned, which is similar to what you shared, is that like people are just interested in learning about themselves, like that's just, they want to learn. The most skeptical people are like, okay, but still tell me what this system has to say. I think that probably a lot of people hear it and then don't always act on it. So, you can't force that, but I would just say that I try to make it as actionable as possible. And that means that when I share human design, my goal is not to tell them everything possible about their chart, but to give them like 1 to 2 gems that are relevant to what they're going through that they actually can take action on. So I think
Oh,
that that's very much my orientation, because I want them to leave and be like, I don't know everything about my chart, but I know how to better approach structure my day. I know how to better approach this conflict with my daughter. Like, so I think that that's the way that I share. I'm kind of more challenge focused than reading all the parts of the chart. And that's very much what I teach with my students. But that's my goal. Like, I want people to leave and actually have an impact in their lives and actually change something because of something the chart said, not know everything they need to know about what it means to be a 6-2.
well said. Okay. I think we're taking a little commercial now, actually, break. It's a perfect little break. When we come back, we want to understand how you feel about the industry. I mean, this is an exploding industry and the different practitioners you see out there. We'll be right back with more. Serious Joy Academy is now offering gift certificates called Gifted Scholarships in 6-month, 9-month, and 1-year increments. This is the first time we've ever offered this. Serious Joy is the most accurate astrology service in the world. And now you can stun your loved ones with a spiritual mirror that helps them every day. Visit seriousjoy.academy to make your purchase. That's seriousjoy.academy. Available now. We're back with human design expert, Step 24 Master Taurus, and human design projector, Erin Claire Jones. And she's helping us understand how to live and connect in alignment with who we really are. Hey, Erin.
Hi, happy to be back.
Now, I was starting it before the break, and I'll continue now. There are a lot of human design voices out there on the web, doing social media. It's like definitely growing like crazy, rapid
Yeah.
fire. What do you feel? What do you feel differently about in your approach than you see in others? I mean, what separates you from the rest, and how do you classify I'd say the industry at large? Is it maturing now? It seems like it's moving into expertise in areas I've never seen before.
Mm. Definitely maturing. I would say when I started in 2015, it was like the most fringe thing. Nobody I knew had ever heard of human design, and it obviously has grown in pretty tremendous ways. And I think that that is a result of many of us beginning to kind of share about the system in less dogmatic, more empowering, more relatable ways. So I would say what feels important to me about my approach, and I think that it is different than many, is that I'm just really not dogmatic about the system at all. Like, I'm not interested in trying to convince or persuade anybody that human design is true. I think
Mhm.
what I say over and over again is what matters most to me is not whether human design is true, but whether it's useful. Is the information I'm sharing actually useful to you? And I think, my experience, similar to your experience, I think at the dentist's office, is that like, even if people are very skeptical, like the helpfulness is pretty undeniable once they hear the information and how it relates to their life. So I think that like I'm just not interested in trying to convince people of anything. And then I
Mm.
would also say that I have really something that I think has been really helpful in my own human design journey is that I've, of course, learned so much from all the courses I've taken and the books that I've read, but I've sat with so many thousands of people in sessions and now taught many thousands of people that I think so much of the way that I share human design comes from like the experiences that I've heard from people, like what generators have actually shared about how they work or how they approach relationships. So, I think that I'm able to share now just from personal experience and anecdote in a way that I think makes the information really relatable. But I would say the industry is growing in like really exciting ways, and it's been so fun to move into the position of teaching human design and preparing other human design guides and coaches because I'm seeing a lot of people very interested in sharing human design that way. And I think really I would say last piece that is kind of my focus right now is, and I shared this earlier, is that when I sit with somebody in session, I don't really call it a reading anymore. I'm not going to just walk them through every part of their chart. I just want to hear what's happening in their life, where things are challenging, and then share parts of their chart that are most relevant and useful to that. And so it's kind of a more challenge focused, real life focused lens to human design. And that's what I'm really kind of equipping and preparing people to do as well. So yeah, those are the pieces that I think feel really important. And I think there are people sharing human design in such incredible, creative new ways. Like it's fun to watch the industry and world grow so much. And I love being able to teach and share with others how to do it now too.
Hmm. Yeah, I've been really impressed, especially with how incredible I've seen like entrepreneurialism happen. I'm seeing people fully becoming empowered, having all small businesses, and
Yeah.
they seem to feel really strongly in integrity, calling themselves human design practitioners. I'm not sure what the title you'd use over someone calling themselves astrologer. I feel like astrologers, we have like this coming out of the closet kind of situation. Is because like
Mm,
there's a stigma that comes with it, depending on whatever religion you have been.
yeah.
So it's funny how often a Christian will go, I believe in Lord Jesus Christ. I'm like, I do too. And the
Hmm.
Star of Bethlehem was a conjunction, between Jupiter and Sirius. But it's funny though; it still comes up for us. But I think you guys have a fresh slate. It's like, what's
Yeah.
that? It's the first thing that people ask, right?
Yeah.
How do you? And I agree. If you can't use it practically, what's the point of it?
Yeah.
Especially when you look at how broken down society is. It's like
Hmm.
Jesus. I mean, you must be frustrated. Like, why teachers don't have this in the classroom? And
Hmm.
yeah, why we don't separate according to these types of situations and help them specialize in becoming generators or projectors, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And have
Hmm.
recess, and activities based on it. Like, can you imagine
Yeah.
like where the world can go if you're raised with that kind of awareness? Do you
Yeah.
see that in the future for human design? Do you see it like implementing school textbooks, for instance, or manuals?
It's hard to know. Like, I would say that human design tells us so much about how we learn.
Mm,
I sit with so many parents whose kids might be struggling in school, and I think human design can reveal so much around how they best take in information, what environments might be suitable for them. So I think that it can be so incredibly insightful, and I love the idea of spaces that really kind of cultivate and hone our gifts,
mm,
but also not in ways that are like you've got to be this, but more like let me just you're a projector, let me like invite you in to share, you're a generator, let me pose questions this way. So kind of in more flexible, gentle ways. I guess like my vision, and who knows how it will all manifest, is that I think we often like need human design because we try to be something that we're not. Like the pattern that I've seen, I don't know what you've seen in astrology, is that when people don't relate to their human design, I often ask how they feel, like what they remember of their childhood. Because my experience, especially now having two daughters, is that people express their design so purely when they're young. Like it is just like so wild to watch. And you're like, oh my God, you are just being
mm.
this through and through. And then there's all this conditioning around like, it's not okay to initiate, or it's not okay to do this thing. And then they kind of like twist themselves into some other version of themselves. And then kind of later in life are like, oh, that doesn't feel good. And they come back to kind of that original blueprint and come back to their human design. Like I kind of envision that we reach a world where like we don't actually need human design because like people already feel permission to be so different and they have all these options available to them. And so like they just are living it. So like I feel like people like that when I sit with skeptics, especially, what makes them believe human design more than anything else is that it just feels familiar. Like I'm not telling them anything new. They're just like, how do you know this? Like this is just who I am. So I just feel like if we're able to trust ourselves more, we shouldn't need this in the future. Because we're able to just trust ourselves, but who knows where it will go until then. Like
a lot of change, but yes, I agree.
It's a longer path.
You said it when they said blueprint. I mean, because astrology does agree. It's like when you're growing up, you're basically awakening to who you are.
Yeah.
And then expressing who you are. And then comes your damage, your past life issues, your karma, your past life wives, you know, like all of a sudden all this stuff comes at you. And then the person makes choices. But I think a lot of that's expressed in astrology, like you tend to lean towards your rising sign, you know, like you shy away from your Chiron. You know, you can see where they're going to probably twist and bend. And it seems like everybody didn't know they had permission to be themselves again. That's one thing. It's like, you know, it's like you just kind of forget in that long story. But even like in the classroom or anything, it's like if people understood that other people were different,
you're right.
Maybe they wouldn't take like so personally that so-and-so did that because they're freaking generator. Of course they did that. You know, like it gives you sort of a write-off in conflicts with human conflicts that I think we need at minimum. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it just, you know, to appreciate our differences. So like, yeah, I don't know, because I guess why I'm like always resistant to being like, let's shape it all around this is I also think that like, I don't think any system is for everyone. You know, like I think human design is an incredible way to understand ourselves. I think it can be so useful in learning and work and all the things, but also like, if somebody's not open to that or doesn't want it, I really don't want to force it on them. So like, you know, just like trying to think about how to really like help people use it in those structures, but also in a way that feels still empowering for people and like they're choosing it.
Yeah. Well, what's amazing, you've probably seen this too. I mean, all the sciences connect, like your I Ching and astrology and something else, right? And they're all hybriding. Numerology fits right in. My step system fits into human design. It's the gate numbers. Like it's amazing, but the interpretation is exact when you study it. So I think if people know they have many choices, like from palm readings to tarot cards to human design, at least to get in the door where they're comfortable, it's all a working map. I often think the Tower of Babel was these systems were broken apart as far as that tale is concerned, because it seems like they were all once together, you know, and then Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. What about human design? I mean, I don't know if you get this, but cult, you know, like how can human design be misused or taken too far to the point where, you know, people end up calling it a cult? That's usually, you know, what I've seen in my world. How can it go too far that would limit instead of free? Do you think that's a possibility for it to be abused?
Oh my God, 100%. I even saw like, anyways, I'll tell that story in a second. I think that, I think, you know, as with astrology, I think that, you know, we are all sharing it through our lens on life. And I've seen many people share human design in very disempowering ways. And I have a lot of people come to me being like, I heard this and somebody told me this. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, like, and it's more through the lens of like this very deterministic, definitive, like you are this and you can't be this. Like you're a projector and you can't have kids. Like just honestly crazy stuff, you know, or like you're this and you can't have this job or whatever it is, like stuff that's so disempowering. And like I just so believe like on the most fundamental level, like this is a system that is meant to like empower us and make us feel free and like teach us how to do things in a way that feels better, not limit what we can do, not limit who we can be with. Like I've had so many people be like, build a dating app to like know who to date. I'm like, but that's not the point. The point is to like trust yourself to know who's right for you and then use human design to better understand them. So I would say that like there are so many ways that human design can go totally off the rails, and I've seen it a billion times. And even, you know, the other day I was interviewed for an article by this amazing journalist, and then it was so interesting reading the article, but like because he talked about all these other human design worlds, and I was like, those worlds sound crazy. Like it was, and I was like, wow, I have like so created my own ecosystem in human design that to me feels like so empowering and liberating and free that I actually forget all the other worlds that exist. So I think a lot of people that come to me resonate obviously with my world, and like it is one of many options. So I would say that there are a lot of human design expressions, a lot of human design cults, a lot of like very strange human design stuff that I really actually don't resonate with at all. And I think that like that's probably true in any system or anything. But I think, I think it's important to be very, you know, selective and ruthless about who you choose to learn from and who you choose to take in information from, because like there's going to be a worldview that comes along with that.
Well, that's why astrology has a bad reputation. There were assholes who used it to gain money, and psychics and palm readers who used it just for money or for influence and making up stuff as they went along to make money. Like it's been abused in art and all the other disciplines. I mean, this is new. I mean, Raw is like the 70s, right? So this
Right.
is a brand new astrology. It's a brand new methodology. I think we see a lot more of these hybrids. But you're right. I mean, it depends on the personality, really. But the old astrology books, I mean, when I picked those up, when I was 19 when I discovered astrology, and I picked up the old astrology books, and first I was like, this is bullshit. Because one, it was always giving you like two bad choices. It was like, it's gonna be this or this, you're fucked. It's like, Jesus, like leave the viewers terrified. My astrologer's like, no, why don't you study your own chart, but don't get afraid. I mean, you always go to the dark side first, looking at all the bad things. And I was like, what's she talking about? But then sure enough, read a few of those books. My point is like, other than Linda Goodman, astrology had gone really dark, at least in formal astrology. I mean, in the sense of always showing you the possibility, but kind of leaning an explanation towards the negative. And it was like, God, kill me now. It was so no wonder it had a dark feeling to other people too at that time. So I see it's something, well, being the light there, when you are the light in the darkness right there, right? I think it's every generation, right?
Yes.
So what would you say would be a red flag then? I mean, what would be a red flag just to help people, get the best out of their first experience? Like what would be a red flag someone should look for with a practitioner or someone on social media so they can have that discernment?
Oh yeah. Social media is a wild world. I would say that like, I guess I would just trust your instinct about somebody, like if they're talking and you're like, that actually doesn't feel good, even though it seems like they know a lot, then trust that, versus like, or like, wow, this person feels amazing. And like, I don't know where they study, but I really like how they're talking. It makes me feel good. Then trust that. But I would say kind of one thing to watch out for, of course, is I think just the deterministic nature around like, you are this and you can't do this. Like that's just never going to be a helpful thing. I think that like human design is not meant to be used that way. At least I don't believe it is. And yeah, but I would just really trust your instinct because like, I also like share this with my students, like, I want them to be so accurate in everything that they share, like, of course I want them to like be foundationally strong and that's important in my teaching. But like, I've seen many teachers out there that just share things that are totally inaccurate based on the original things that Ra, came up with. And yet, if that information is helpful, is that a problem?
I want to say, so
like
that's not what Ross said.
Like, yes.
But still it's a good lesson there.
Yeah. Like, I guess it's
like works. Like they got it. Yeah.
Right. I guess it's all just like, is what they're sharing helpful to me, And so like, I think that I've seen things where I'm like, oh, that's so not what he said. And yet, and in my courses, I just kind of give people context around it, like where it did come from. But I think that it is, I guess it's really just, everybody's going to resonate with different people. And I would just trust your instinct. And if something about it feels off or wrong, I would trust that. Like I have so many students that tried one educational path in human design because they were like, this is the path I should go. And yet they were like, nothing about that feels right. And again, this is why it's so useful that our human design reveals how we're meant to make decisions. Because I would say like that is the piece to tap into to know who's the right guide or teacher or steward for you. You're somebody who's meant to be very gut driven and sleep on things. Other people are meant to kind of talk things out to see who's right for them. Other people are meant to like sleep on things for a month. So I would follow actually that process to kind of help you know who is the right guide.
I think it's brilliant advice. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to, and this is true going forward, you got to trust how you feel. You got to trust your instincts.
That's right.
Does human design for you predict the now? It's very around a human's design, but what about society now? I'm just curious in the sense of, I mean, astrology says we about to have quite a show in the next.
When is this starting? In the next month, you said?
Well, I would say if I were to draw a line, I would say the sun at 27 degrees Aries, which I think is April 17th. I mean, from what I can tell, when the sun goes 27 degrees Aries, it's showtime, as in a new something completely new that we've been building up to for a long time. But it seems to be revealed very quickly because, we don't do well with transitions or because it's also sun in Aries and it's also a very Pisces thing. I'm going to astrology another time, but that's what our team feels like. It's going to be in April, and it's going to be about 9 months or so of just energy we've never seen before. Wow. And we assume the transition, to the beginning of 5D and higher consciousness and letting go of the root chakra. I know Ra has something to where the root chakra goes away. Do you know about this? Or
I haven't heard the root chakra go away, but it is, I think astrology does such a beautiful job of walking us through the cycles we're experiencing. And human design does that in some ways, not, I think, to the level that astrology does. Like, I think what human design is talking about right now, and I'm always a little bit wary of sharing about this because I think so much of the magic of human design is like getting so rooted in ourselves that we know how to navigate whatever moment that arises.
Sure.
But I would say kind of the cycle is, the idea is actually starting in 2027. That's the beginning of a new cycle that we've been building up to for like 400 years.
Okay.
And so we are, we're in a very transitional period where a lot of stuff is breaking down because something entirely new is being born. And there's like an emotional awareness and this sensitivity and all these things that are coming online that are very new. So yeah, there is a big transformation. I think that he talked about some of those things in pretty scary ways. So again, people are like, what does this mean? And I think that it's always just, I think it's really about just like, it's such a reminder of the power of like knowing ourselves deeply enough to navigate the uncertainty we're feeling, because all of us can look around and be like, God, the world's pretty crazy right now. And things are just changing very fast, you know, in ways that we're not always prepared for. And so I think knowing ourselves well enough to navigate those moments. I think another thing human design talks about for sure is kind of a rise in people working for themselves. And, you know, you referenced that already. But yeah, so I think that I'm always just conscious of like, how can I just continue to anchor people in themselves so they don't kind of get swept away with all that's happening and they know how to navigate that in a more empowering way. You
know what? That's the solution anyways. I mean, I think I'm not interested in predicting doom if I can't tell you to get out of it. I want to yell fire in a theater. You know, it's Ra. It sounds like, I mean, Ra was a different generation. He wasn't my generation. We had the opportunity to heal. I think I'm one of the first generations. Gen X has the opportunity to heal. You know, I don't think he did. Like his generation, like carried the truth, but they had their own dark shadows that they weren't able to fully face. I mean, it's Pluto's in Scorpio there when he died. Like, so, if I understand correctly, so it's like, so therefore, there's going to be some overinterpretation, I think, of what you see. And I think we have to understand that pain, you know, just because you channel doesn't mean you've worked out all your shit. You know, most of the time people who channel like doing it for themselves, it's their tools that they're sharing with the world, you know. So, you know, Kuda, I still think his visions are probably accurate, but maybe intense, you know, but you know, astrology, but there's also been, you know, Armageddon. I mean, the culture of race, we've all had this sort of feeling of the sort of doom. And to some degree, I feel like it's us facing the final wound, which is like the loss of our ancient land, like Atlantis, Lemuria, like that's when we did destroy the earth. And that is what we're worried about happening again because of that, I feel. You know, but it's interesting. But it lines up. If you say 27, then that's exactly what astrology says. It's almost like this year, for those who are ready. So basically, chaos kind of starts this year, you know, but people don't all get up and do something until 27. However, I think the generators will be there with lemonade stands already set up. You know, there's certain, you know, we'll have our business. It will be ready because that's what our job for us. It's like a go time. It's a get to stage. For a lot of light workers, I think it's a calling the stage. Okay, you know, you face all your stuff because you're here as a role model, example, that sort of thing. Do you feel done ever? You know, I mean, in astrology, you're never done. Is there a sense of you say this is your blueprint, but then do circumstances change things, or do human designs go through progressions? Like, is there aging in human design?
Yeah, it's a great question. Like, your blueprint doesn't change, you know, like the blueprint you have from when you're born till when you pass, like that is always the same. But I would say how you express it is always changing, you know. And I would say that, like, to me, there's like no good or bad in human design. Like, it is just is. But I think every part of the chart, you can kind of see what the shadow expression is versus the wisdom expression. And so kind of like, I would say that when I sit with people, they're often like growing into the wisdom of all the parts of their chart. And based on where they are in their life, like their chart is pulling them in lots of different ways. I always love sitting with people that are older because I'll express shadows in their chart. They're like, oh yeah, that really was a shadow that I really worked through for decades. And now I'm on the other side. So I think it does help us know kind of the progression and possibility. And I think being aware of those potential shadows is incredibly useful because, like, you know, as somebody that's been studying and teaching human design for a long time, like I still get pulled into those shadows like every day, but knowing what they are just helps me navigate them so much more easily. And we'll go through cycles and all the things, but yeah, that fundamental blueprint does stay the same.
I guess it's like you go back to the blueprint, you're like, oh no, that's what it meant. Like you keep reading the blueprint, like you're like, oh, that's what 100%. It meant. Like, you know, you thought you had it, and so it's like same old, wax on, wax off. But like you just keep getting deeper with your own understanding yourself. Yeah,
that's right.
Well, I'd like to know: is there one permission slip you wish everyone could take from human design right now, regardless of the type of configuration? What's one permission slip you wish everyone could take?
I think the permission slip is, regardless of whether or not you choose to dive deeper into human design, I think it's really just knowing that you are wired to do things very differently than those around you. So just considering whether there's any area of your life, whether it's as a parent or as an entrepreneur, as a friend or as a partner, that you're like, I've got to do it this way because this is how people do it, but that's not what feels good to me. And just to ask yourself, like, is there a better way of doing business? Is there a better way of living with somebody, showing up in a relationship? Because I think human design just reminds us that we are all wired so differently. And I think the more we really get to know ourselves and honor ourselves, the more successful we'll be, the more satisfied we'll be. So, just checking in on like where you are trying to be a thing that you probably are not.
No, I'm just not getting there. I'm still young. So that says, before we wrap up, you've written a book. How do you choose a human design's guide to what's best for you at work, in love, and in life? Pretty much everywhere. For anyone who's resonating with this conversation, what can they expect from the book, and where can they find it?
Yeah, the book is anywhere books are sold. Which is great. But I think that I would say the book is a really great place if you're like, I want to understand myself and I want to know how to actually use it, based on what we're sharing. It's like, I want to know how to use it to connect more deeply with my partner. I want to know how to use it to find a better career. And honestly, my dream for the book is that people not only read the chapters about themselves, but then they go back and read the chapters about their kids and their partners and their friends. And it is such a conversational tool. So that's a really, really great resource for that. And then our custom guides are a really great place for that too.
Okay. And can people still get a reading with you? I imagine you got a long list. How else do they work with you?
I would say that if you want to get kind of a custom guide all about your design that kind of goes into all the pieces, you can get that at humandesignblueprint.com. I do readings, not many of them, but those are at erinclairejones.com. And then I would say if you want to go down the human design rabbit hole, if you're just like, I'm one of the people that wants to learn the system, we just created an incredible new community membership, which is basically a place where all my courses live, but also we just like, it's so many incredible students and guides and teachers that are just kind of like on the human design path together. It's called Human Design Genius. We just launched it. We have, I think, about 450 members, and it's just really fun. Like, I don't know what your journey has been like in astrology, but when I was learning human design, it was totally in isolation. And so like being able to create a space where people are just like learning it together and be like, this came up in a session, what do I do? Like, it's just so incredible. So that is a really fun space that we just created that is really alive.
We are so from the same pasture. You have no idea. No idea. Yeah, I see communities as very important and essential. And I really see that Facebook will not be here so much as these privatized, small communities, small in the sense of not Facebook, a billion trillion or whatever. It's like people who really are the same vibe, hanging out, really getting to know each other, getting closer for the first time. I think community and private communities is where it's all about. And of course, having a lot of people to bounce around communities like you and myself. It's been a pleasure to meet you, and I already want to have you back. If you don't mind, stay backstage, and we'll talk a little bit. Just one more time, your website, the first one that you go to would be?
humandesignblueprint.com.
humandesignblueprint.com. All right. And we thank you, Erin.
Thank you.
For talking to you again. That was fun. So happy when the person is a Taurus, too, because there's like a common ground there, like no other. But she's on the exact same page, as you know, if you know from watching me. And so we have time for tonight, but this is going to be a topic we dive deep into. We have so many great things around the horizon. I'm so excited to be with you here at this time. And of course, the new time. How's it working out for you guys on Saturday nights? Are you liking it? We'll talk more about how that's going to change. Until next week, however, we love you. Live, love, be. If you're watching us on YouTube, please be kind and do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Serious Joy TV. Please click like on this video, and if you don't mind, hit the bell button so you're notified, so we collectively defeat the algorithm overlords. The Serious Joy Nonlinear TV network is simulcasting right now on many media affiliates, including Instagram, X.com, and Facebook, just to name a few.